Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Dr. Claudia Albers, Planet X researcher and professional physicist. And today I'd like to bring to you another one of my articles. This one is entitled Planet X Causing the Earth's Surface to Break Up. Now, in Article 343 entitled Hurricane Florence, Cover-Up for Tidal Force from Object in Outer Space, I showed that Hurricane Florence had been a cover-up for the occurrence of a tidal event at the east coast of the United States, because the category of the hurricane had been sharply revised downwards, and yet the forecasted storm surge had not. It was even worse than that, as NOAA used wind gust speeds instead of sustained wind speeds to categorize the hurricane, so that Hurricane Florence did not register any hurricane force winds until it reached shore. And you may look at Article 345 for more details on that. Now here's it's a screenshot of someone from the Weather Channel stating that a storm surge of 7 to 11 feet had been verified at New Bern on September 14, 2018. And this was actually higher than had been forecasted when it was still believed that the hurricane would reach shore as a Category 4 hurricane. So this means that this was actually a tidal surge, not a storm surge. And these tidal events seem to have started in 2017, and there were ocean recession events which occurred in Uruguay and Brazil, and these were followed by other events in several parts of the world, including Venice, Eastern Russia, Ecuador, and Tampa Bay, Florida. And the one in Tampa Bay, Florida, was associated with a passing hurricane, but it passed overhead way before the water returned. Then there were high tidal events which have occurred suddenly, and on occasion. There was one in Durban, South Africa in March 2017, and we can see some screenshots from video that was taken of that time. You can see the waves coming right inland, and here the wave flooding the street close to the beach. And these are from the recession events that occurred. This one was in Uruguay and this one in Brazil. So these were unprecedented. They occurred in August of 2017, and you may look at Article 227 for more details on that. Now, tidal events can only occur as a result of the gravitational influence of a celestial object closely approaching Earth. And you may look at Article 188 entitled What is Causing the Ocean to Recede All Over the World for more details on that. Normal tides on the Earth are mainly due to the Moon's gravitational influence. So these abnormally high and abnormally low tides have to be as a result of massive objects closely approaching Earth. The objects that would be likely to be responsible are, of course, the stellar cores belonging to the system of dead or energy depleted stars and planets, which I have named Planet X. These objects have been affecting the Sun and the Earth for hundreds of years. They enter the Sun's corona and the Earth's atmosphere and create gravitational vortices. On Earth, we call these gravitational vortices hurricanes, tornadoes, and waterspouts. And a tornado seems to have first been observed on Earth in 1643. And for more details on that, you may look at Article 361 entitled Planet X Producing Gravitational Vortices in the Earth's Atmosphere since 1643. Now, here's one of the stellar core in the Sun's corona, so in the Sun's atmosphere, and there is a gravitational vortex connecting the Sun to this object. And through this gravitational vortex, this object is drawing material from the Sun. And this material seems to come from the chromosphere, which is below the corona, is denser than the corona. It actually appears to be in the liquid phase. So this would be the same as what these objects do in the Earth's atmosphere, which is to create these waterspouts. Waterspouts are really tornadoes over the ocean. And through these waterspouts, they draw water from the surface of the ocean upwards through the waterspout. So And basically what we're seeing here is the same thing, except we do not see the object. Seems to be always some cloud formation around these objects, so we don't actually see them here. And this is a tornado, and notice that there's this pink color in the sky here, and this is usually indicative of the presence of stellar matter, which is emitting this magenta or pink colored light, and this is due to the energy absorption process, which leads to ionization and heating in the contact region between the stellar core matter and solar system matter or Earth matter, and I call that the Planet X effect. Now, there was an ocean recession event which occurred at the same tide as the high tide event, which was covered up with Hurricane Florence. And you can see here a beach where the water just receded, it disappeared. And this was, of course, an ocean recession event. So this ocean recession event, which occurred at the same time which Hurricane Florence was supposedly affecting the coast, led me to the understanding that the stellar cores which were approaching the Earth and affecting it gravitationally were creating a wave pattern on the surface of the ocean, with a region where the sea level was higher than normal and another region nearby where the sea level was lower than normal. This meant that gravity was a stationary wave which created regions of high and low density. Then, after observing a gravitational wave which periodically appears in Venus's atmosphere, I understood that gravity is in the form of a wave with a central minimum. In other words, the waves generated on the surface of the ocean would have a low sea level central circular region surrounded by a ring-shaped high sea level region, followed by another low sea level ring-shaped region. And you may look at Article 348 entitled Venus Bulge Gravitational Waves and Hollow Planets for more details. But here's the stationary gravitational wave, which appears in Venus's atmosphere periodically. And this is basically a region of low density which is in the shape of a ring around a circular central region. So what we have, and this is illustrated by this water wave, is a hollow in the center, so that's the central minimum. And around that central minimum there is a ring-shaped high water level region, which is basically the first maximum. It's a high amplitude area where the ocean level would be higher than normal. And then around that there is another ring-shaped region where the sea level, or the water level in this case, is lower than normal. And this is the wave on Venus, which seems to have a central minimum. This wave would go all the way around the planet. Now, taking a cross-section through what occurs on the ocean, this would be produced by a stellar core, which produces a gravitational wave where there are regions where the gravity is attractive, over here, and where gravity is repulsive, and that would correspond to some hollow region which the object may have there. So that means that this kind of wave pattern would be produced on the surface of the ocean. There's a central hollow, and the crests here are due to the ring that goes around it, and then the first minimum, which again creates a region which is ring-shaped, but where the ocean level is lower than normal, and the normal sea level is indicated by the blue line, and that's basically the sea level equilibrium position. So these objects can create gravitational vortices in the Earth's atmosphere, and the objects that have been reaching the Earth have now been creating gravitational waves in the ocean, suggesting that these are larger or gravitationally stronger objects, which can affect the Earth from a greater distance. The gravitational vortex only forms when the distance between the interacting massive objects is very small. And this is shown here. So this is a stellar core, and when it's a very large stellar core, but its gravitational influence is most likely not as strong as Venus, as otherwise it would pull all its gaseous material right off it. It would absorb it, and a gravitational vortex would be able to form from this distance. But because stellar cores are low in energy and therefore low in gravitational influence, they may be extremely massive and yet have a much smaller than expected gravitational interaction or that they can produce. So now what we have here is a stellar core which at some distance from the planet creates this type of gravitational wave in the form of a ring. As the stellar core approaches the planet, then the radius of the ring decreases and the height of the wave increases, until when the stellar core is very close, a gravitational vortex forms between the two, and at this time the stellar core is now able to draw material from Venus's atmosphere. So the appearance of gravitational waves on the Earth's oceans suggests that larger stellar cores are now approaching the Earth, and that they started doing so in 2017. These are possibly much larger than the ones that have been reaching Earth since 1643 and creating gravitational vortices. But they're also staying at a larger distance, or a greater distance from the surface of the Earth than the smaller ones. So they are creating these type of waves still. So they are at some distance from Earth still. They're not actually coming into the atmosphere, at least not yet, and creating vortices. But if they ever do, they would create vortices that are much larger than the ones we've experienced so far, which form water spouts and things like that. But if these objects are causing sea level changes on the Earth's oceans, what effect would they have when they move over land? For now, we are not likely to see the land buckle up and down as one of these objects passes overhead, although the time for that may still come. But these objects will create regions of changed gravity on the surface of the Earth. A region will be pulled toward the center of the Earth with a greater force than before, and an adjacent region will be pulled with a lesser force than before. And as the object moves, the regions affected change, so that the effect is like that of a wave of alternating greater than normal and less than normal density moving across the ground, i.e. this is like a P seismic wave. And this will cause the ground to break and fissure due to being alternatively pulled and pushed in different directions. It will cause hills to break open and slide downwards. So this is what occurs when a P wave, a seismic wave, moves across the Earth, the solid part of the Earth. And it creates regions of higher density and alternating regions of higher and low density. And the higher density regions are called compressions, and the low density regions are called rarefactions. Here they're called dilations. That's another word that describes the same effect. And this is illustrated here also what we'd expect to occur. We'd expect regions of lower density, these are in yellow, where the stellar core's gravity is pulling on the Earth, so it's pulling it upwards, and you will create regions of higher gravity, where the stellar core's gravity wave actually causes a repulsion. So there is a greater pull inwards towards the center of the Earth, and that creates a high density region. So these are in red. And then as the stellar core moves across the surface of the Earth, this wave would move with it. But the ground that has been affected would fissure and break and move, and possibly even move upwards in certain places, and because of being pulled and pushed by the passing of this wave. Now, the reason why larger stellar cores are approaching the Earth may be due to the Sun having weakened, so that the Earth's ability to generate energy has now become an attraction for some of these objects. This would mean that larger and larger objects are likely to approach Earth over time, thus causing increasingly more severe tidal waves and fissuring of the Earth's surface. In conclusion, larger stellar cores seem to now be reaching the Earth. These objects produce tidal events in the Earth's oceans and will therefore produce a slowly moving seismic wave on land, which will break up the ground and cause it to fissure. These are the references. This is Dr. Claudia Albers, Planet X physicist. Thank you for watching.